Let's talk about the book War and Peace, not pictured here because it is a very heavy book and my hands are hurting. And also it might have completely fallen apart right before I started filming this. So other thing I need to warn you about is that my baby is playing loudly in the background. He is one of the loudest toddlers I have ever met. Apologies all around. Oh, and if I haven't mentioned it, the book is over 1,000 pages long. It took me nearly all month in order to read it, and I expect that this isn't going to be some type of 60-second review, although kudos to anyone who can do that. You're probably going to want to speed me up by holding down this video. If I was trying to give the most basic premise on what you're going to find in these pages, then I would say that this is about the Napoleonic Wars. It focuses in on the Russian side of things, and you're going to be following 5 different families with Russian names that are all very hard to say and I cannot pronounce at all. I'm not even gonna try. Leo Tolstoy himself was part of the Russian aristocracy, and it wouldn't be a surprise to find out that his family members probably played out some of the plot lines that you see within these pages. This did take place 60 years, I believe, before he was even born, so it's not like he experienced it firsthand. His skill as a writer is that he's extremely descriptive. If you made it through any Anne Rice novel, then you can probably make it through War and Peace. So descriptive, in fact, that a lot of people would even say the novel is cinematic. You can definitely see that in how many times people have tried to bring it to the big or small screen. This isn't the first time that I've read a Leo Tolstoy novel. I have read Anna Karenina, however you say the last name. And if you saw my November reading wrap-up video, you know that I did give War and Peace 3 stars. But I've read his other book that he's also famous for 2 different times, and I would consider that a 5-star read. They are pretty similar in themes, and both have their own tragic endings for different reasons. Overall, the tone that I got, and probably because he is a male writer, is that War and Peace was more centered on the male experience, while Anna Karenina is more centered on the female experience. Both extremely tragic, and without spoiling things too much, definitely doesn't always have a happy ending. There are tons of iconic and amazing lines from War and Peace though, but what you get with the book is a lot of Leo Tolstoy's opinions on philosophy, government, education, families, how people suffer, and can at times be a bit of a slog if you're not prepared for entire essays. Like the epilogue itself, I think was 200 pages. The first 100 is wrapping up all those loose threads, and then the last 100 is even more thoughts about war. Like a lot of books written this time, this was actually done in serial form, so it's kind of how I read it. I read it in big chunks, a section at a time with other books in between. Of course, I'm glad that I finally finished it. I definitely do believe that you get all the bragging rights when you say, I've read a book that's over 1,000 pages. Where's my doctorates in literature right now? And this book is so important when it comes to literature that you're gonna see its influence in tons of other things that you probably never even thought about. Would I recommend War and Peace? Yes, if you have to, and if you want those bragging rights, and if you love Russian literature. If the book's not really for you, then you should definitely check out a more modern version of this classic by a Czech author. The Unbearable Lightness of Being is obviously an homage to Leo Tolstoy. You'll find that one of the characters is a dog and is named after, I believe, the husband in Anna Karenina. And the title itself comes from a line that is described with one of the characters' death in War and Peace. Let me tell you, the way that Leo Tolstoy describes death, I mean, a lot of these characters were what I would consider white privileged men just failing upwards. Doesn't make their deaths any less tragic, especially with lines like what we get from Leo Tolstoy. But back to this book. If you can tell, a little bit shorter, but still extremely impactful, and seems to really be playing up the dynamics of love, war, womanizing, that surprisingly plays a huge part of War and Peace. Let's talk about some of the adaptations that I watched after reading this novel. The more recent one was a BBC production from 2016, I believe, and everyone is tragically beautiful in this movie. I don't know how I feel about it because even though these are themes that you see in the book, because of the time period, there's a little bit more subtlety. And I did feel that the 2016 version was definitely playing up some of the more salacious Game of Thrones aspects that you see with these family politics and affairs that they have. But the fight scenes were definitely better, especially when I compare it to the version that I watched that had Audrey Hepburn. Audrey Hepburn was the best part of that movie. She was an excellent Nastasia, playing it with a lot of like innocence, but they definitely ignored the salacious points of War and Peace. And what really threw me off about both adaptations, especially the more recent one, is that they were all English, Scottish voice actors for both the French and the Russian roles, especially with the older one, like the difference with the American accents and the actors that they chose. I guess that's the best that we had at the time. I probably could have watched the Russian adaptation. I bet you it's much better and it makes sense with the accents, but after spending that long reading the book, I didn't want to spend that long reading subtitles. I know, I'm the absolute worst. So which adaptation do I think is the best in capturing the book? It's this children's version that I've been reading for the last couple of years to my son. Although the context to the images way different when you actually know what's going on, especially with how they frame this relationship as sleep and this walk as a jaunt through the snow. Have you read War and Peace? If so, make sure you put it in the comments below.